Well, percenters, welcome back. Coach Tommy, Jimmy Highroller. Has there ever been a player throughout NBA history quite like
Nikola Jokic, a big man that can give you a quiet 30 a night?
Nikola Jokic, he's an ultimate playmaker, so he's got some Boris Diaw, big playmaker. Boris Diaw shoots kind of like Larry Bird, great footwork like Kevin McHale.
Passes the ball like he's got eyes on the back of his head and can dominate games without getting more than
great touch around the rim like Enes Freedom Cantor.
6 inches off the ground. What about Steph? There's been countless great
plays super slow like Kyle Anderson, slow-mo
shooters throughout the league's history, but what about a shooter who can come off of screens and hit shots from 30 feet out while being chased down like a criminal? I've always wondered if players like these are truly one-of-ones, or if the blueprint for these players was laid out years ago. But today, I found my answer. While doing some research, I found this website called Crafted NBA. It has some of the most advanced NBA data available today. And with this data, they have created some interesting algorithms and predictive models. One of them being their historical similarity app. Within their database is every single season by every single player who played at least 500 minutes in the NBA since 1978. Choose any player, and the site will give you a complete scouting report with a bunch of stuff. Shot quality, free throw rate, offensive load,
relative shooting, okay, block percentage,
portability, a crafted offensive and defensive plus minus, and every other convoluted metric you can possibly conjure up. It gives every player a value for each metric based on their performance and then rates them based on where they rank compared to other players across the league. For example, Nikola Jokic is about as good as it gets when it comes to shooting efficiency, playmaking, and offensive versatility. Now, as good as it gets when it comes to shooting efficiency, playmaking, and offensive versatility. Now, here's the catch. This algorithm takes all of these ratings and percentiles and compares them to their entire database to find the most similar player throughout NBA history. And guess what? There was a player like Nikola Jokic in the NBA years before he came into the league, and his name was Larry Bird. But I didn't just run Jokic through this similarity app, I ran it for Luka and Giannis.
Oh, let's guess.
And Steph and LeBron and Durant.
Luka, who does Luka play like? Super slow, picks his spots, maybe like a James Harden, big size guard with a little bit of post-up game, maybe some Paul Pierce in there. Giannis, he's just a freakish athlete. Most of his damage around the rim, maybe a Kevin Garnett in terms of length and size, maybe a Dwight Howard, a Shaq. Steph Curry's got all kinds of Reggie Miller, Rip Hamilton, Ben Gordon, catch and shoot stuff, off the dribble stuff, some Kyrie Irving in there.
And a lot of other players. To find the most similar players of the past to our big...
LeBron's the freakiest athlete ever. I don't know who came before him that was ultra athletic. Maybe Dr. J? Yeah, I don't know LeBron. A little bit of Magic Johnson because he's obviously a big passer.
Stars of the present. And
Kevin Durant. Nobody's super that tall that shoots that good. Kevin Durant was kind of his own in my eyes. I guess Kevin Garnett kind of early. Nobody had that handle.
Some of their comparisons may surprise you.
Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's like a much more washed T-Mac, heavier, not as athletic, can score a bunch. Ja Morant's like Russell Westbrook and D Rose, but yeah, those are easier.
Today's video is sponsored by Save Time. Optimization is a web developers for however you ship, all in one place. Whether you're shipping an excellent player, can score, pass, rebound, but is he a one-of-one? We've seen these attributes and skills in many other greats of the past. Crafty, versatile, oversized perimeter players. For me, his doppelganger has always been Prime Harden. But what do the numbers say? Well, Crafted NBA's similarity app has the answer. And according to over a dozen advanced metrics that lay out the very specific and unique facets of Luka's game and production, he is actually most similar to a young Tracy McGrady, with a similarity score of 85%.
Young Tracy
specifically
McGrady.
A young McGrady in 2004. Although Luka is a better passer and McGrady shot more threes relative to the league at the time, these two have striking similarities with their shot quality and offensive creation. Luka is a better rebounder, but defensively they fall within the same exact percentile of sub-average, with an offensive game that more than makes up for it. The next most similar players for Luka were 2005 Kobe Bryant, 2000 Grant Hill, and 2005 Mike Bibby.
Now,
Giannis Antetokounmpo has cemented himself as an all-time talent over the last half-decade. But similar to Luka, we've seen this player before.
Amari Stoudemire.
It's difficult to find an appropriate comparison, as physically imposing and athletic bigs have seemed to become a thing of the past. So that's where we'll go to find the most similar player. And I'm sure you can guess who it is. According to the Similarity app, the most similar player to Giannis is 2006 Kevin Garnett, with a similarity score of 85%.
I think that's what I said.
A phenomenal post scorer who also led the league in rebounding, was not limited to the paint but operated within it most of the time.
Giannis has the similar intensity.
Most versatile defenders with his length and athleticism. In fact, Giannis and Prime KG aren't just similar. They are almost identical, with offensive and defensive metrics that are almost impossible to tell apart. KG was a better shooter and rebounder, but every other metric is virtually the same, from their efficiency to their offensive versatility to their passing. The next most similar players to Giannis are 1993 David Robinson, 1993 Karl Malone, and 2002 Tim Duncan. Next, I wanted to take a look at a player who might actually be a true one-of-one. Steph Curry has taken a skill set that was crafted and polished by sharpshooters that came before him and perfected it. But who before him was the closest thing to what we see from Curry today?
Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Here's a hint. It's the other greatest shooter of all time.
Del Curry.
If you said Ray Allen, you'd
I
be
forgot
correct.
about Ray Allen.
But not this Ray Allen or this Ray Allen.
The Bucks Ray Allen.
2001. Young, flying around the court, pull up off the dribble, Ray Allen.
He used to give
with the
Kobe
highest similarity
buckets.
score yet of 88%. Curry and a young Ray Allen
Gilbert
expectedly share
Arenas,
most
Mitch
things in common.
Richmond,
Their all-time
Chauncey
great shooting
Billups.
efficiency and shot quality, their offensive portability, and their perfectly average defense. Curry is a better playmaker and is capable of carrying a heavier offensive load, but their uncanny similarities as shooters and shot creators, and even defenders, makes them the most similar players to one another.
Ray Allen
Interestingly
was
enough, the next
way,
most similar
way,
player to Curry
way
is
more
offensive
athletic than
juggernaut
Steph Curry.
2007 Gilbert Arenas, followed by 1998 Dana Barros and 2003 Chauncey Billups.
Gilbert
Next, I
Arenas
took a
had
look
the
at a player
range.
with the size and skills that we often see in all-time greats. The versatile wing, that is Jason Tatum. Similar to his contemporaries of the past, Tatum can do just about everything on the court
Tatum's
at an
really,
elite
really
level.
good, but
he can
he's
score
not,
on all three levels. He can run an offense, has great defensive instincts,
Nothing
has the
elite,
size and
elite.
athleticism to turn most defenders into a mismatch. And when I think of these traits, there's a lot of players
Kind of
that
a
come
taller
to
Paul
mind.
George,
But
taller,
according
stronger
to
Paul
the
George.
Similarity app, the closest thing to Jason Tatum is 2010 Kevin Durant, with a similarity score of 83%.
KD,
Looking at a
Rashard
young
Lewis,
KD's metrics
T-Mac,
is almost like looking at some
Danny
2K
Granger,
creation
Paul
with
Pierce.
maxed out stats. Offensively, he didn't have a weakness, and his defensive metrics suggest he was fairly underrated on that side of the ball. And although not quite as staggering, Tatum's metrics paint a similar picture. A great shooter who can get to the line at will and can carry a team with his versatility and ability to create offense. The next most similar players to Tatum are 2007 Rashard Lewis, a young 2004 Tracy McGrady, and one of my favorite
Rashard
niche
Lewis,
borderline
I
stars
forgot
of the
about that dude.
2000s. 2009 Danny Granger.
Danny
Next,
Granger
I wanted to
got
take a
shipped
look
out
at
by
one of the most
Paul
polarizing
George.
stars in the league today, and a player with a game reminiscent of some of our favorites from the past, Ja Morant. When I watch Ja play, I can't help but to see a lot of young Derrick Rose and Russell
Iverson.
Westbrook. It's the obvious comp, the springy, fast twitch guard who can get to the rim whenever he wants, while keeping his elite playmaking skills intact. But what do the numbers say? Well, according to the Similarity app, the closest player to present-day Ja
Bryant,
Morant
Brandon
is
Roy.
actually a young Steve Francis.
Oh
with a
yeah,
similarity
Stevie
score of
franchise.
83%.
That dude was
Both
freaky.
Morant and the franchise have questionable shot selection and are quite limited
Francis.
as stars in their specific role on offense. But they make up for it by being elite at that specific role, keeping defenses on their heels by getting to the line at an incredible rate despite their size. Excellent rebounders and among the best at carrying an offense and creating open looks for their teammates. Of all the comps I've heard for Ja Morant, a
Ramon
young
Sessions?
Steve
Is that
Francis
Ramon
maybe
Sessions?
came up once or twice, but it's a great comparison. And the numbers
What happens when
would
you don't
agree.
win?
The next most similar players to Ja are 2002 Kobe, 2008 Brandon Roy, and 2010 Tyreek Evans. Now, thinking of comps for this
hard to
next player has
remember
always
years
been a
of
tough
certain
task,
players.
since he has been truly a unicorn of a talent for the last decade and a half. And that's Kevin Durant. When he rose to stardom 15 years ago, there wasn't a single player like him. Fast forward, and to this day, there still isn't a single player quite like him. But if we are looking for size and an incredible shooting
Kevin
touch and
McHale,
elite
Paul
offensive
Pierce,
versatility, specifically akin
Grant
to
Hill,
this
Tom
older, more
Chambers?
efficient version of Durant that we see today, then look no further than 2010 Dirk Nowitzki, who revolutionized the power
Nowitzki.
forward position with his shot-making ability and has a similarity score of 84% with Kevin Durant. And across the board, Durant and Dirk share eerily similar offensive and defensive metrics. The main differences are Durant's absurd shooting efficiency and the fact that he handles the rock a bit more than Dirk did, which leads to a higher
Bit
turnover
more.
percentage. But
Way
outside
more.
of that, they're a match. Big guys who can score on all three levels at an all-time rate, possess guard-like skills to be the centerpiece of an offense while maintaining the integrity of their 7-foot
Never seen
frame
Dirk do
with
a crossover
rebounding
in my
and
life.
switchability. The next most similar players are 2011 Paul Pierce, 1987 Kevin McHale, and 1989 Tom Chambers. And for our last player comp, we have a player that has spent
LeBron
his entire
James.
career getting compared to a guy who plays nothing like him. In terms of success and greatness, LeBron and Jordan are the obvious yin and yang. But in terms of
Hell no.
play style and on-court metrics, they aren't very similar at all. One is a
LeBron
jack
is,
of all trades with playmaking
Karl Malone and
instincts.
Magic Johnson.
The other is a two-way pure scorer. To find the most similar player to current-day LeBron, we have to look for size and passing and an all-around scoring
Tony
package,
Kukoc,
which, according
Rasheed
to the
Wallace.
Similarity app, is 1988 Larry Bird, with a similarity
Oh, yeah, Larry
score
Bird.
of 84%. Now,
Well, LeBron's a
looking
little slower
at
now,
Prime
so
Bird's
maybe.
metrics, you would think I made a mistake on this graphic, but I didn't. He was just that good. Virtually no weaknesses in his game, reaching at least the 95th percentile of all players in the league in the majority of these metrics. And although current-day
Larry
LeBron
Bird, I wish
isn't
I could have
quite on
seen him
this
play
level,
more.
a 38-year-old LeBron remains one of the league's premier do-it-all players. The metrics suggest
LeBron
Bird was
James.
more efficient offensively with a low turnover rate and league-topping shot quality. But it's their offensive bandwidth, playmaking and passing excellence, and overall malleability where both LeBron and Bird find their real value. The next most similar players to current-day LeBron are 1996 Tony Kukoc, 2001 Rasheed Wallace, and 2005 Vince Carter. But this version of LeBron and this version of LeBron are seemingly
same
two different
players,
kinds of
man.
players. So what happens if, instead of plugging older LeBron into this similarity app, we search for the most similar players to a young LeBron? Well, our results change drastically. The most similar
Blake
player
Griffin.
to a 23-year-old LeBron is
Grant Hill, yeah,
1992
Grant Hill.
Scottie Pippen, with a similarity score
Scottie
of
Pippen.
87%. An elite defender with the size of a forward, the playmaking skills of a point guard, and the athleticism to get to the rim
Scottie Pippen,
anytime
Grant
and
Hill,
put pressure on the
T-Mac,
defense
Clyde
from anywhere
Drexler.
on the court. The next most similar players to a young LeBron are 1997 Grant Hill, 2002 Tracy
Ugh.
McGrady, and 1992 Clyde Drexler. And that is 8 players and 9 of their most similar comps throughout NBA history, according to the numbers. Now, one of the most interesting things I discovered throughout this process is that
If you're really good, you're just gonna get compared to really good players.
some players of the past came up time and time again. Players like Dirk, McGrady, Grant Hill, KG were found to have a lot in common with many of the stars in today's league, confirming what we've all thought for years. These guys had the tools and the skills way ahead of their time and had a play style that not only thrived in their era, but would thrive today as well. McGrady had metrics similar to Luka, LeBron, Tatum, and even some other guys that ran through the app like Anthony Edwards.
He's one of those guys, man. If his injuries, T-Mac could have been crazy.
And KG were similar to nearly every
Gave Kobe
star big
fits.
that ran through the app, like Jokic, Embiid, AD, and Giannis. These guys
If Dirk had any level of athleticism, he could have been
excelled
crazy.
in a much different league 15, 20 years ago. And
If Kevin Durant had the Kevin Garnett had the freedom some of the boys have now, he might have been crazy.
metrics and similar scores suggest they have become
Grant Hill, if he never got injured.
the blueprint for most dominant big men in today's league. A testament to the path these
God,
two
you gotta
paved
keep
and just how much
The
they
most
changed the game.
important
So there it
ability.
is. What do y'all
Availability.
think? Are these comparisons accurate, or do the metrics?
Kind of a fun video. Yeah, did you guys guess any of these correctly, or have any idea what this video is about? I had no idea. It's pretty interesting. Lots of smart people, much smarter than me, putting together algorithms that come up with this, and I just gotta go back into my old brain and see who I remember. Anyways, until next video, take 14 minutes, 24 seconds, or 1% of your day to get better. Peace.